All right, and we're back. In last episode, we learned how to get resources from this palm tree. Now, because we can get resources, I think that we can use the palm leaves and the hardwood to create a fire. So let's do that in this episode. The first thing that we need to do is actually create a fire. And I'm not even going to do it in Blender. I'm going to do it right here in the engine. So I'm going to create a cylinder. It's gonna be a very basic looking fire. Let's just try to do this, knock this out real quick. 6 rocks. Okay, so you're gonna have 6 rocks and 5 logs to make a fire. So highlight all of them by pressing Shift. And when you shift and click on all of them, you should be able to right click and you should be able to, actually we have to go up here to actor and we're gonna go and say merge actors. And we have 5 logs and 6 rocks, so that's 11 actors, so merge. And now we have to call it something. We're gonna call this one firewood or fire. And then save it in a place where you're gonna be able to find it. So for me, third person, blueprints, assets. Here I should make a new folder. And we're going to call it fire. So I'll put it in that folder here. So there's my static mesh of my fire right there, just as we made it. And that's all I need for this fire. But now we have to make it into a blueprint. So let's go ahead and make a blueprint class actor, and we're going to call it fire underscore BP. So this time, this is going to be the fire blueprint that we can spawn. So open it up, and we need to add a static mesh. And the static mesh that we're going to add is going to be called the fire right here. So click that and plug it in, and there you go. And you can actually move it on center right there. And let's drop it in the world and see what it looks like, how big it is. So we can delete this one now. Delete all of these. And you should just have one that's just built like that. Cool. So maybe a little bit smaller. So let's go back to the blueprint here and let's size it down just a tad bit. All right, perfect. Now all we've got to do is let's add a sphere collision. SPH collision to this. And we're going to make it cover the extent of the fire, like a little bit outside of it too, because this is where the player will be able to interact with the fire. So in order for the player to be able to interact with the fire, we need to go ahead and add an interaction button. So we need to go to class settings and over here where it says implemented interfaces, type in interaction interface, and we'll add that to it. Now in the blueprint, what we can do is when the player gets inside of it, you don't have to hover like a widget over to let them know it's fire, but we need something to happen though. So on the sphere, the third person can interact with it that way. And then something can happen when they overlap it, and then also interact, event interact. This is when they press the E button or the interact button, something else can happen. So we can have them cook the fire. We can have them be able to just be inside of the vicinity of the fire on this one. So let's go to our third person character and go to our event graph. And let's add another variable here. So this variable that we're going to add is going to be called near fire. And it's a Boolean. Compile and save. Now on our fire BP, when the player overlaps that sphere, other actor, third person, when they overlap it, just set near fire to true. Near fire to true. And when they end the overlap, we need to set near fire to false. So third person again, then set near fire to false. Perfect. Okay, now we'll be able to cook some food eventually, so I'm just gonna leave that chilling there. Now let's see what else we need to do. Now, in order to make a fire, we need to craft a fire, and then we should be able to place the fire. But I feel like if you craft a fire, you have to craft it in a place where you can place it. So if you can't place the fire there, we need to make a variable for that. So we'll make some little zones where you can't craft a fire at all. So can craft fire, enter. And that'll be a boolean on our third person character. So we are going to put this all on our crafting menu. So we probably would need a picture for the fire to do that. So let's go to our crafting menu here. Third person blueprint, HUDs. We have our crafting menu right here. So let's grab a picture of some fire. Against this, it looks like it's just transparent, or maybe it's against a black background. I'm not sure how that's working. Okay, so this is the picture that I got after a lot of playing around. So let's go ahead and put this picture in here. Thank God for AI, right? Let's go ahead and drag it right here in the HUDs. So whatever I just downloaded, I think it should be in my downloads. Boom, let's drag it right on in. And it's right here now. Now let's go to our crafting menu, and we'll have to copy this stone axe and everything. So we'll just do it one at a time. Copy and paste, stone axe. We'll bring it over here. And this time, copy and paste the picture with a button. And then one of these, copy and paste. Okay, so let's get started with this. First thing first is replace this picture out. So let's use the picture that we just got. Save everything real quick, but let's replace it. Pop. It's a little bit different art style, but it's okay. We'll rock with it. All right, boom. Now, for the picture, that's fine. Now, the scrap wood right here, it should not say out of scrap wood. It should say out of however many hardwood. It's going to take 5 hardwood. So we can leave 5, and we can leave wood. But instead of scrap wood, we need hardwood. Hardwood. And for the binding, we need to bind it, because this one's bound to something. But before that, we can just copy and paste. So we can also use 6 rocks. So type in 6 rocks. So it's going to be out of 6 rocks. All right, perfect. Compile and save. Now let's go ahead and put the code in for the hardwood. Create a binding. So for this hardwood, I don't know if we have a reference here. We don't. Let's just cast to our third person character. Third person character. Get player character. Pull up the third person character and say get hardwood. Once you get the hardwood, we want to plug in the amount of hardwood, but we want to format the text. So let's format the text. We want to say hardwood, put it in curly brackets. And then I want to say slash out of space 5 hardwood. So there it goes. Now it's going to plug up however many hardwood you have to, and then compare it to 5. Now for this one, same thing. Let's bind it to another binding. And we're going to say third person character. Get player character. Then we're going to say rocks, get rocks. And then we're just going to format the text. So format text, and we're going to say out of 6 rocks. So curly brackets, rocks, in curly brackets, out of space 6 rocks. Boom. plug your rocks in, and that's going to rock your socks. Cool. Now, in order to even craft this, so this would be like make fire right here. Let's do a couple more things. We're going to have to put that in the third person character. So let's put a custom event. So custom event, and we're going to call this one make fire. And if the conditions are fulfilled for the fire, then we'll be able to make it. But we're not going to put the conditions here. All we're going to do is spawn the fire here. So let's spawn the fire. All you have to do is spawn actor from class. And we need a spawn transform. So let's viewport. Let's see if we can put something here. Let's add a scene component to our mesh. Scene. And we're going to call this fire spot. Now, this fire spot needs to be on the ground right in front of him somewhere. So this is where you're going to be able to craft the fire at. Let's go back to our event graph here. And the actor that we want to spawn is the fire BP. And where we want to spawn it at is the fire spot. So get world location. Rotation should not matter, but we need to split this spawn transform and plug in the location here. We'll just say get world rotation just for good measure, and we'll leave the scale alone. Cool. Now, the only way that it can make the fire is if the variable can craft fire is true. So get that and put a branch before everything and plug that into the branch. So if that is true, then you can make a fire. It's going to spawn the fire right in front of him at the fire spot. But let's go ahead and set this variable to true always, because we need to set different boxes where it will become untrue. Compile and save. So in our fire, let's go back to the viewport here and let's look at it. Let's put a fire actually on it. So on the static mesh, add cascade, particle system, and just search for fire. This is the one that comes with the game, so it might not be the best fire, but it'll do for now. And I'm going to turn my particle system to be invisible right now. So turn the visibility off. Because when they interact with it, we're going to put a variable over here in the fire. So let's turn the variable, let's call it fire on, question mark. And since the fire starts off, we'll leave it false. Now, when the player interacts with it, we could turn the fire on. So let's make a custom event. And we're going to call it fire turn on fire. And first thing we'll do is set fire on to true. And then we'll set the visibility of that particle system to true. Bop, new visibility, true. Now, when the player interacts with the fire, if the fire is on, so do a branch, and check and see if that fire is on. If the fire is on, we're going to do something else. We're going to make them cook the food. But if the fire is not on, so on false, we're going to turn fire on. Or turn on fire, whatever I just called it. But before you can do that, that's good. No, that's actually good. Cool. Now back to spawning the fire in the third person character. So if he can craft the fire, we need to spawn the fire. Bet. The way that we can craft the fire, though, is in our crafting menu when we press the button. So if you press the button, you'll see that there's a on clicked. When you press on clicked, this is what we need to fill out. Now, notice the other ones up here, it's pretty much the same thing. So copy this, so cast the third person character, get player character. This time we need to see what he needs for that fire. So he's going to need 5 hardwood. So get hardwood. If it's greater than or equal to 5, then get rocks. If those are greater than or equal to 6, now we need to connect those with an AND Boolean, bow, and put a branch there so we can check that condition. So if that condition is true, then we'll be able to craft the fire. And what do we call that from the third person? We call that make fire. So grab off your third person character and say make fire. Now, you know that in the make fire thing, we're going to have to update it so that it takes off the resources and takes off the weight. So we're going to do that in another episode, because this one will get way long if we do that. But we want to be able to make this fire. So let's go ahead and see if we can make it and light it. So far, we can craft it if we have the necessary materials. And then once it makes the fire, it's going to spawn the fire at the fire spot. Once the fire is spawned, we should be able to walk up to it and event interact, turn on the fire. And when the fire is turned on, we need to set the fire to on and set the particle system to visible. How about that? That's everything. Dang. Okay. So are the necessary items here? No. Well, there's the hardwood. Let's just make sure we have enough hardwood, because that tree, I think it's going to give us 5 by default, but let's just make sure. Okay. Wait, is there enough rocks? Oh yeah, enough rocks. 6 rocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I need an axe. All right, so I got some hardwood. How much do I have? 3 hardwood. I need more than that. See, I knew that tree was going to mess us up there. There's some. All right. 8 hardwood. All right, so I got enough to, I'm overweight like shit, but I got enough to build this fire. So let's press the crafting menu, which for me was P, and I spawned the fire. So the weight didn't go down, but we'll fix that. Now the fire is there. Let's walk into the fire and press E and see what happens. It turns on, and now the fire is on, and now you'll be able to cook things. So that's all I really wanted to show you this episode. The next episode, we're going to enhance this fire so that we can actually cook on it, and our weight goes down and everything acts accordingly. But since we were able to spawn it, that's what I wanted to show you. So I hope you have a great night or day or whatever it is for you. But I hope you learned something, and I'll holla at you on the next one. Peace.
Run to the money, on the feet, don't fail. The DA and the judge, on the do they best to jail. I done turned it all.